globally. So this statue, Queen Mother Reality, is actually turning into a Mother Earth, the kind of thing that's based on the Bolivian concept. Okay? And that's up and going now, so we can go there this summer.
I'm Jay with Global Revolution, like I said earlier. Typically what we do a lot of is live streaming. What I'm mostly interested in is sort of galvanizing citizens to upload video and footage and stuff, and like the woman was saying earlier, to create like a hashtag or something, so we can sort of propagate the message with the hashtag, and so that way people who want to monitor, who can't necessarily show up in New York City, could still participate, via Twitter or via the internet or through like a live stream or whatever. And it's just, like I said, to galvanize citizens, let them know that, you are a citizen journalist from your hip. You have the lightsaber, right, your cell phone, and, you can do wonderful things. And another thing that we do is this, like, Twitter bomb thing, right, where, we sort of, like, aggregate the Twitter hashtag and sort of, pushes the message further. And just, I guess, like, movement media building stuff is what I'm interested in. You're welcome.
Well, just listening, and Harriet Finebaum, just listening to everybody, I just want to pick up on, I'm sorry that I forget your name, the person who had the idea about the tag. I want to first ask whether there's a specific, you mentioned the police gave you a date for the march. Is there a specific route for the march?
Not yet.
Because I was thinking, just, picking up on this, is that it could be, visually is one of the most important things. I mean, dictatorships are terrified of artists and what they do. And I think visually we should be as dramatic as we can be, and we should choreograph the route so that it makes a sensational impact as much as possible.
Aundrea. I just have suggestions. I don't have any asks, but after listening to everybody, I think I've got teenagers that are constantly looking at memes, looking at Vine videos, like almost incessantly, and I think if we can come up and generate some really powerful images to create the engagement I think that we're looking for, I think that would be a great way to really mobilize people on a level that would be immediate and have a lasting effect. So I don't know if anybody's interested in collaborating at this level, but I'd be interested in being part of that team.
My name's Monica. I mentioned before I work on the intersection of art and technology with roboticists, engineers, generative animators. Something I was talking about with my team was perhaps putting together a data visualization project, whether for the website or for something along the route, or something where there were points along the route where you got something pushed to your cell phone. Somehow tracking live data or making something that, again, that was mentioned so that people who weren't actually in the march could participate. One thing that we were talking about, though, was what data would we want to show? Because we have the resources, we have the artists available who could put this kind of thing together, but what would we want to actually display? And what would be helpful, and how would that work? We have a few people in our network that we could go after for funding. We also have a bunch of people in our network. We've done work, for example, with the Streaming Museum. We haven't gone to them yet to talk about this, but they did a lot of the visualizations in Times Square, like the Bjork project. So things like that, that we could approach perhaps. So really what I'm looking for is what would be helpful in terms of data visualization or things along that line. I think that would be my most helpful.
Thank you. I'm Slokshna, and I've been working with 350 on kind of getting the message out there to students and youth and mobilizing them on how we communicate to them. And so a lot of amazing youth-led projects. So if you want to talk to me about that, how we can get them out there in the media and stuff, I'd love to talk about that. Also, I've been making memes. So.
I'm Jason, but X. I'm Jackson, and ditto to Selectiona. I think there's a lot of different teachers
school groups here, so talking about some actions that we were thinking about planning on doing, maybe the Friday or Saturday before the march, specifically with students, either a rally or a demonstration or even just a conference.
I'm Dan. What I've been doing is the environment. I've been rewriting my play, and it's called How to Stop Human Extinction While Keeping a Good Job, which is probably not the kind of happy, peppy message anybody wants to hear. But I'm working on monologues, and I think doing things in public spaces to let people know what's going on, and especially if you do a 5-minute monologue in, say, Union Square, and somebody's there to hand out the cards for the 20 minutes.
Victoria, and I can talk more about this project in more detail in the breakout room, but I have an ongoing audio intervention project. It uses a technology that allows you to project sound in a very narrow beam, about 150 feet. Whoa. And so I'd like to expand this project either working in theater or names or messaging or stuff like that. I've worked around an issue already a little bit. But yeah, I'm just looking to connect with more people, and I like this idea of building empowerment really, rather than just like projecting the business.
My name's Garrett. I'm sort of new to the planning for this action, but if this is leading to breakouts, one of the things I wanted to throw out, if there's a need for it, if there's a need for a group that just sort of plans, support, logistics, coordination, choreography, that sort of thing that would be unique to the state.
I'll pass. Josh, I am forming a full climate chorus. I am writing a piece for a chorus with the intention of getting an extremely enormous number of people to sing it at either the march or one of the mobilizations, as in like several hundred people if I can get to that. So what I'm looking for specifically, one, I'm talking to a couple potential poets / lyricists to collaborate with, but nothing's kind of firm yet, so if somebody else will be interested in that, I want to talk to you. I'm looking for singers. Probably the way I'm going to be doing it is reaching out primarily to ensembles that might be interested in either signing on or sending a lot of members. So I have some connections, but I'm looking for more in that regard. And I'll probably need to talk to some of the people who specialize in linguistics, because there'll be a lot of linguistics.
I'm Natalie. I'm organizer for the NYC Climate Convergence, which we are loosely calling right now Partial Conference, Partial Skillshare, Partial Festival. It's a lot. We're going to have to work on that. But anyhow, we are getting space for events that are going to be happening on the Friday night and the Saturday day before the march. And like I said, we want it to be a really interactive space. We definitely don't want it to be a straight-up conference where people are just getting talked at, but we definitely do want it to be a space for like the intersectionality that Sharon and other people were just talking about. So I guess the ask is, if you guys have ideas for any of the things, share like, you know, music, panels, trainings, email us. We have an email. It's Converge at System Change.
At Converge.
Oh, Converge at converge.org.
Yeah, it's Converge at convergeforclimate.org.
Yeah, that's our website, convergeforclimate.org. Also, we're having a planning meeting for this event this coming Tuesday, the 25th, at the CUNY Grad Center at 7 p.m.
Basically, we need artists.
Yeah, you need artists. Tuesday the 24th. Oh, yes, thank you. Tuesday the 24th. Okay.
I'm Donna, and I, along with Patrick, am bottom writing the Kids Block or Kids March. And that's going to be something really specific. What it's going to be is we're trying to get literally thousands of kids, ages 2 to 13. We're not having teenagers because teenagers are doing something else, but ages 2 to 13 marching all together in order of age.
take their own messaging and images. And so, as such, we're having 2 weekends of big mass public builds and workshops for the kids where they'll have age-appropriate education about climate change that's not like, hey, you recycle and turn off the lights and then that'll save the polar bears. But that's actually more about the social justice aspects of climate change and expanding the narrative, and about that this is not about them needing to recycle and turn off the hot water, but it's actually about like larger systems that are in place, and that's why they're protesting. So, which is a very daunting thing to try to do in an age-appropriate, non-terrifying way. And I'm not an educator, I'm an artist and an art organizer, so I'm definitely looking for educators to feel up to that task, and for people to help facilitate these bills, because there's going to be a lot of helping a lot of children, and then getting them involved. And then also, as part of this, we're also sending them home with like a take-home scene sort of thing, so that they can go on. It's been expressed by parents that they are excited about this being maybe a window of opportunity for them to be able to talk to their kids about climate change. And so I'm also looking for someone who might be interested in helping to figure out what this like take-home little scene booklet comic thing is that the kids get. That's appropriate educational. So yeah, so bottom line asks are educators and facilitators for workshops, and people who have, I'm not from here, I don't live here, and I don't have children. So I'm so qualified for this work. But people who have connections to groups of kids, school groups, big organizations that work with kids, parent groups, anything like that, yes, please talk to me. And that's all. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Yes, so I mentioned two things.
Sorry, your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Regina. I mentioned two things before. The first one is the thing that actually is underway now, which is a project with artists, and it's kind of peppered through the year at different times. And right now there's several things that have opened up in the blocks. And it's called In Climate, Solutions, Awareness, and Action. And the idea is that we're working with partners. The partners are either a public school or a community organization, like a CDC, a Community Development Corporation, not-for-profit. And through them, we're able to reach their members. But the work, as Dan was talking about this in the park, the work is, most of it is outdoors. Because the people we want to reach are in low-income neighborhoods, and those are the neighborhoods that are really threatened a great deal by climate change. And there are people that may not be able to afford to go to museums and so forth to see art. So it's outdoors, and then the art becomes a catalyst then to get them, to kind of go to have other kinds of events, maybe more engagement, talking and so forth, but to keep going with it. So, but the idea is that the artists are asked to come up with ideas about solutions or antidotes to climate change, and to build awareness toward grassroots effort. That's the whole idea of it. And the second thing is that I mentioned the Climate Reality Project. I don't know if anybody else in here has been trained through the Climate Reality Project, which is the Aundrea project. But it's great because once you go through the training, you're provided with a fabulous amount of great slide material and other things, and it's always kept up to date. So I've given a number of talks, and I'm happy. I've done it for kids, and I've done it for adults, here in New Jersey, and I'm happy to do it. Not just doubters, but I mean, it's a way, if I know the group I'm talking to, people know a certain amount, but there's a lot more to learn and to really understand it. So I'm happy to. I'm happy to do that. So one is Yeah, my name is Eugene. Okay, great. And I just want to put a plug in, it's something that Jose mentioned before, the Human Hotel. We did use the Human Hotel. They did put up an artist and a horticulturalist for us for the project, and it was great. And can I just mention that what's really important about Human Hotel is...
Okay.
I want
to get us into our
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're searching for people working in urban communities that are looking to host these artists, or what exactly?
So the Human Hotel is, I mean, I'm just putting a plug in for it because they, we're going to a particular neighborhood or area, and who are the artists or who are
I know Martin, so.
Oh, you know Martin,
So,
okay.
yeah,
Okay,
Human
great.
Hotel, just so you know, they're interested in contributing. They've done this at previous mobilizations, where they match people who are coming in from out of town with locals to host them, and recognizing that that's part of the infrastructure and relationship building that's so important. Raquel, did you have something?
I'm just wondering if there's a specific ask to the group here. Are you looking for something in particular, or either in climate or on the climate reality project? Is there a specific ask for this group?
Right, yes, for the Climate Reality Project, I'm volunteering to do talks of different kinds. That's one thing. And the other is, to provide just more information about climate. It's underway now.
Raquel, did you have something that you wanted to, for yourself, contribute to the room?
Sure, maybe. I'm really interested in working with, building out our networks and getting to know people who are working with a variety of different organizations, working with communities of color throughout New York, and figuring out ways that we can align our various struggles and our various areas of passion and connect that to this larger environmental justice movement. So if anybody has a particular community that they're interested in working with, or particular folks that they like to bring, I'd love to help maybe think about ways of doing outreach.
I'll take off my facilitator's hat and say, with an arts group called Not an Alternative, we are launching a project, a multi-year project called the Natural History Museum, where we'll do exhibitions, expeditions, educational workshops, and public programming. But we include the social and political forces that shape nature, yet are left out of natural history museums. So this September at the Queens Museum, September 13th through October 4th, we're going to have a show and programming there. So we're going to use that as an opportunity with a bunch of, we'll have talks and panel discussions and performances and projections and screenings and so on and workshops to build the drumbeat towards the march. And then we're also collaborating with Don and Lucky Tran, a scientist himself, if this, inshallah, if this happens, where we're working to turn out hundreds of scientists to have a feeder march in lab coats, and also do a press conference outside of the American Museum of Natural History with scientists and faith leaders calling on the museum to dump Coke. David Koch sits on the board. And also some other actions that I can't talk about right here, but we'll have a short bus that's wrapped like an expedition bus for the Natural History Museum that'll pull a flatbed trailer with a billboard truck and pull that as a float in the march. So we are really interested in folks to help with logistics and at the museum and at actions. If anyone's interested, let me know.
I'm not going to speak for me, but the crew from a project called Sea Change couldn't be here tonight, but they are planning a 3-week boat trip down the Hudson River, stopping in communities that experience different climate impacts. They're building these boats by hand through what I've been told is a very high-tech form of papier-mâché. And they'll be building them in New York City in August, and in Troy, New York a little later in September, and are looking for folks that want to be involved, and I'll write up their contact info soon. Oh, and they're building they'll send more info if you sign up for the SPORATORIUM listserv on one of these sheets, which I hope you will all do.
Please indicate if you don't want to be included on the listserv. It would be great to see everyone's name so we know who was here. I'll enter all that information to the listserv and just write if you don't want to be on that.
Okay.
Groups.
So we're going to do breakout groups. So this is an opportunity where now that you have a sense of what people are interested in, to connect and go deeper. And we're not going to come back and close after the breakout groups. We want you to just like play that out and not worry about us. So the suggested breakout groups, I'm going to read through them all at once, and then I'm going to ask for a show of hands to see if they make them.
So my suggestion would be Becca and I, as people who are involved in all different kinds of meetings and planning committees right now, sat and thought about what are the different ways that we think that we could slip artists into the mix. What are the different holes that we see of things that people aren't taking leadership on that we think people in this room could be? And so these are recommendations of different buckets of that work that we see, but it should in no way be inclusive of the end all be all.
Okay. So I'll run through them first. Visibility / materials. So this is if you're interested in kind of visibility work. Flyers, stickers, zines, that could be radio, that could be, and there might also potentially be some printing resources, just things to bear in mind. The second group is what we're calling kind of in-venue work. So that's in the lead up to September and also during the mobilization or throughout September. Doing stuff that isn't necessarily in the streets, but maybe is like spoken word or a music show or an art exhibition or whatever in another venue. So that can function as publicity or place in the lead up, or it could also function as your contribution to the mobilization, even though it's not at a march, it's the movement, right? The third thing is march / mobilization actions and interventions. So visuals, ritual, kind of organizing, performance, stuff in the streets, things that lift up different constituencies, blocks, feeder marches, stroller brigade. I want to talk to you about that. The next was music or oral, auditory. So I heard a few people say that that's their bucket of work or their practice. It could include like developing songs or chants for the march. Include lots of stuff. The next is technology-based projects. Data visualization, psychogeography, augmented reality, websites. Then we have writing, journals, blogs, media engagement, being the media, publicity, critical theory. And then finally, outreach. Who else should be in the room? Who else can add value to this effort? Other groups, other artists, institutions, cultural producers, VIP engagement, etc. So I want to get a show of hands, because it might be that if there's just like 2 or 3 people for one of these, I'll suggest that y'all find each other if you want, and then we won't do a full breakout.
So we went ahead and wrote these up, and I think what I'm going to do while you do that is that it would be great we need each group to have like a point person to help us stay in touch with what happened in that space. And so if you'd be willing to be that, I can hand you the sign, and that's you're the point person on that group. And so your job there can be to make sure you have everybody's contact info, and to write a post about what happened in that conversation to the SPORATORIUM listserv so that everyone can see what happened. I can remind you about that. If I wanted to name in these groups, it doesn't mean that you all are going to work on a project together, right? But then you want to make sure that you identify who in that room you might like to stay in touch with, and also maybe make a vocal commitment about things you see that you are suited to continue doing on your own, even if the people that you're going to do it with aren't in the room yet with you.
Great. Okay. Visibility and materials. Can I get a show of hands of people who might be interested in that?
What?
Visibility materials.
Okay, I'm seeing 6 people. That sounds like a breakout room to me. Breakout. Okay. After we kind of figure out our breakout groups, then we'll figure out where we're going. Okay. So in venue, people are interested in doing things in venues. Okay. Awesome. That looks like a breakout group. Who can be a point person to